May 1st. 2025. There. Go there. Find it. That's where we go. If there's ever an issue. Okay? Find it. That's where you go. Cool? Cool. Druze in Syria need help. That's what this one is entitled. Why? Because they are a ethnic minority, and I don't know exactly what it was. Something on a college campus. Something happened between the Muslim majority in Syria and the Druze. Druze also are kind of okay with the Israelis. I'm sure that has to play in with it too. So there's a major problem going on with all them. So we're going to cover it. You know, it's just another thing to tack on to all the little conflict zones of the world. Yep, that's right. So all these little conflict zones are all over the place, and they just get worse and worse and worse and more and more and more. And that's where we're at. So Israel, Gaza, still going. Ukraine, Russia, still going. Pakistan, India, still going. Druze, Syria, still going. South Korea, North Korea, still going. China, Taiwan, America, still going. I mean, it is just all over the place. So I wish it was getting better. Doesn't seem to be. And we're going to cover it all. That's what we do here on the Crisis Report. That is what we do. So if you could be so kind as to hit that like button, to do the subscribe thing if you are new here, darken out the bell. By the way, if there are videos that you have not seen of the Crisis Report, one of the best ways to support the channel is to go onto my homepage, youtube.com/Crisis Report, and start playing those videos you haven't seen and liking them and commenting them. Evidently, this is the new method to try to get something going on with the old tuberism, okay? Multiple channels have noticed that there's been very many changes, and they just don't make them the way they used to. So that is a great way to help, and I'd love it if you could do that, okay? Other than that, it is late AF, and we're going to get started here on your Crisis Report for May 1st, 2025. It is just one of those weeks, folks, where it's just busy. So we're going to get going, all right? And I appreciate it. So sit back, relax, and slap on the earbuds. Most comprehensive news coming right at you right now, folks. This is your Crisis Report. U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth warns Iran, we know your lethal support for the Houthis. You're aware of the U.S. military's capabilities and were warned you'll face the consequences at our chosen time and place. Washington Post, quoting a Rwandan official, says, we welcome Washington's request to accept non-citizens deported from the United States. It looks like you better start learning Rwandan or whatever the heck it is they speak there if you're picked up here. I don't know about you, but I'd rather go back to Chile than I would to Rwanda. 50 years after the fall of Saigon, Asia watches as America pulls back once more, not from war, but from aid, diplomacy, and influence. From Cambodia to Myanmar, China is filling the vacuum. U.S.'s paternalistic dominance has faded. Now China's influence spreads widely, visible from military expansion in the South China Sea to infrastructure in Nepal. We covered some of this over on PrepperNow's video tonight. Basically, some people think that, China's doing great. Some people know that they're actually not doing that hot whatsoever. So one of the reasons why the Soviet Union collapsed is they kept spending on military. Not to say that we couldn't do that as in America, but China isn't exactly just a bastion of awesome when it comes to their financials right now. I know the New York Times would like to see America fail, but it is what it is. Trump vows to stop wars and is under fire as the U.S. launches its biggest bombing campaign since ISIS, targeting Yemen's Houthis with over 800 strikes, but no clear endgame. Houthis remain defiant. Allies like Saudi Arabia and UAE stay distant. Like Biden and Saudi Arabia before him, Trump now faces the same challenge: how to weaken the Houthis without being drawn into a prolonged, unclear conflict. Experts argue that real impact would require combined U.S. regional ground coordination, but warn this repeats failed 2015 strategies and underestimates Houthi adaptability. They are pretty swarthy, those Houthis, so we'll see. That is the Financial Times, so they hate Trump, so just take that with a grain of salt. Australia heads to the polls May 3rd. PM Albanese's Labour leads, but independents at the balance. Trump-era uncertainty makes voters cautious. Compulsory voting for citizens 18 plus. In Australia, not a main. 4.8 million out of 18 million eligible voters already cast ballots via early voting. Labour, 77 seats. Liberal National Coalition, 53. Greens, 4. Others, independents, 15. 76 seats needed for a majority. So I'm sure they'll get it. They always do. I think their number one reason why their number one issue down in Australia is they hate Trump. So that is the big world issue right now. He's all the problems are because of him. Ukrainian Prime Minister on the minerals deal with the U.S. Ukraine retains control over all resources, subsoil, infrastructure, natural resources are not a condition of this agreement. Ukraine only makes a contribution from new licenses, from new rent, from minerals. It will be 50% to this fund in money. Accordingly, no debts, no assistance that was provided to Ukraine before the signing of this agreement is the subject of this agreement. Sudan's rapid support forces are attacking Nakhud city in West Kordofan with more than 300 combat vehicles. Trump administration informed Congress of its intention to green-light the export of defense-related products to Ukraine through direct commercial sales in the amount of $50 million or more. Israel redraws Gaza map, limiting Palestinians to a third of the enclave. Israel's renewed Gaza offensive has displaced over 420,000 Palestinians. 70% of the enclave becomes a military red zone or evacuation area, raising fears of de facto annexation. 70% of Gaza now evacuation or no-go zones. Expanded buffer along Israel and Egypt borders. Aid, water, and medical access cut off. UN legal experts warn of violations. Initially, Israel created a 17% buffer zone during early war months by raising land. This area is now dramatically expanded to encompass the majority of Gaza's territory. U.S. Senate supports Senator Graham's bill on sanctions against Russia. He proposes introducing a 500% tariff on imports from countries that buy Russian oil, petroleum products, natural gas, or uranium. U.S. military is planning a massive increase in the use of drones in its largest overhaul since the end of the Cold War. U.S. military plans to equip each combat division with approximately 1,000 drones and dispose of old weapons. Overhaul would cost $36 billion over the next 5 years. South Korea's acting president, Han Duck-soo, resigned in order to clear a path for him to join the race to become the country's permanent president. That's what it is. I'm like, where's my little cursor that tells me how far I've gone? I slid over to the right a little too much. There we go. Number of children receiving treatment for malnutrition in Gaza has risen by 80%. in April compared to March due to Israel's ongoing blockade of the closure of the border crossings. United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said. Lebanese army says it dismantled over 90% of Hezbollah's military infrastructure south of the Litani River under post-ceasefire agreement. President Joseph Aoun says LAF now controls over 85% of the region, responding to Hezbollah's criticism of the state as weak. Lebanese officials stress diplomacy is the only viable path forward. The Lebanese public is weary of war, aren't we all? U.S. bomb Yemeni quarry after false OSINT tip. 8 civilians killed. Dutch open-source intelligence account on X, Vlekkehond, falsely identified a civilian quarry in Yemen as a Houthi underground military base or missile base. Relying on the information, the U.S. military conducted an airstrike which tragically killed 8 civilians, including children. I think there's actually a daycare in the quarry itself. Mistake quickly drew backlash after the civilian casualties were confirmed. The OSINT account deleted the original post, issued a public apology, and reportedly donated money to charity in an effort to make amends. You just screwed up, bud. U.S. President Donald Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, is being forced out. He's been kicked out. They walked him out to they had a box in his hand, and they took him out. 4 people briefed on the matter, said on Thursday in the first big shakeup of Trump's inner circle. Big shakeup. Waltz's deputy, Alex Wong, Asia expert, who was a State Department official, focused on North Korea in Trump's first term, is also leaving its post. Not immediately clear who would take over for Waltz, but one special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who has been involved in the both Russia-Ukraine diplomacy as well as Middle East. One of the sources said, person familiar with the cabinet's internal dynamics said Waltz was too hawkish for the war versus Trump and is seen not effectively coordinating foreign policy amongst a variety of agencies. A key role for the National Security Advisor. Here he's going to write 3 or 4 books trashing the Trump administration. Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to read all of them. I'm going to buy 4 of them each. Just you wait. Waltz is going to get him. Zelensky on the minerals deal. We have the first result of the Vatican meeting, which makes it truly historic. We're also looking forward to other results for the conversation. Pakistani-administered Kashmir has all but closed all religious seminaries for 10 days. Over 1,000 madrasas and 26,000 students are affected, with officials citing fears of potential Indian airstrikes. Trump says we are going to eliminate anti-Christian bias. Please do. Support Ukraine's F-16 fleet. The U.S. now is sending retired F-16s from the Davis-Monthan Boneyard to be used as spare parts for, not for combat, though. Israel Defense Minister Katz, I repeat my warning to Syrian regime leader Jolani. If attacks on the Druze in Syria continue, we will respond with great severity. If the attacks resume and the regime fails to act, our response will be harsh. Whoever takes oil from Iran cannot do business with the U.S. Trump believes that Pete Hegseth should not be fired after the administration's extensive efforts to confirm his appointment, according to CNN. Best way to guarantee a war is to allow the Islamic regime to continue with the JCPOA 2.0 or the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran Nuclear Deal or Iran Deal. This is according to Mir. He said, this is a quote from Winston Churchill. Owing to the neglect of our defenses and the mishandling of the German problem in the last 5 years, we seem to be very near the bleak choice between war and shame. My feeling is that we shall choose shame and then have war thrown in a little later on even more averse terms than at present. Saudi Arabia could move toward normalization if the Jewish state successfully destroys Iran's nuclear program without provoking retaliation, the Jerusalem Post reported on Thursday, citing unnamed Israeli officials. In the event that Israel actually succeeded in destroying Iran's nuclear program, some top Israeli officials believe the Saudis would be so enthusiastic about the removal of that threat that they would move to normalize with Jerusalem simply because that radical outcome and the new cornerstone of regional stability. Caravans of Sunni jihadists are now on their way to the Druze stronghold of Aswida in southern Syria. Great massacre is going to happen if Israel doesn't intervene. That's according to Amir Sarfati, but they're worried about the Druze. Trump says, I am pleased to announce I will be nominating Mike Waltz to the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. Wait a second. I thought he was getting thrown out of the White House and was going to write a tell-all book, start to work for the New York Times and CNN, where every night you can watch him nightly trashing the Trump administration. Nope, that's wrong. Actually, he's being switched around. He's going to the UN, folks. Okay? So if you have a liberal heart on, you can get rid of it now. In the interim, Secretary of State Mark Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor. So, thought we had a scalp. It sucks. Trump, alert, all purchases of Iranian oil or petrochemical products must stop now. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. They will not be allowed to do business with the United States of America in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That is from one DJT. Israeli security source says we are closely following developments in Syria with the Druze. We have carried out 5 warning strikes so far. If the new regime attacks the Druze, we will intervene directly to hit them. Hundreds of Israeli Druze combat soldiers and officers, both in duty service and reserve, are initiating an appeal to Defense Minister Katz and Prime Minister Netanyahu, demanding that they allow to enter Syria to fight and protect their relatives in Syria. An unusual and joint statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz has now been issued. Israel attacked last night near the presidential palace in Damascus. This is a clear message to the Syrian regime. We will not allow a withdrawal of forces from south of Damascus and any danger to the Druze community. That is an official FAFO letter. DNI Tulsi Gabbard is forming a team to investigate the origins of the Rona, and Dr. F may face some problems. Federal judge has ruled that President Trump cannot invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport certain illegal immigrants. President Trump announced he is nominating Mike Waltz, a UN ambassador, to the that Secretary to the UN, and Secretary Rubio will be in the role, National Security Advisor. Vice President Vance admits that Russia's war with Ukraine isn't ending anytime soon. Border Czar Tom Homan reveals that the Trump administration has rescued 5,000 missing migrant children. That's good. U.S. Treasury has been spending close to $5 trillion a year without tracking code labels, making the funds nearly impossible to trace, according to Doge. We talked about that over on PrepperNow a couple nights ago. It's called the ATS. So, or the TAS. Yes, TAS, Treasury Access Code, or Access, whatever. You get the point. TAS, ATS, something like that. We talked about it over on PrepperNow. Trillions of dollars, I don't know where it's going. Castronoff and Fitz and Tucker Carlson saw a great video today, them talking about stuff. And basically, Castronoff and Fitz says that $21 trillion is missing. They don't know where it's at over the last 30 years. and they think they're building like a super SHTF prevention Raven Rock, Mount Weather kind of thing underground all over because there's some kind of an event coming. You should prep. Scheinbaum says, agreed with Trump to improve U.S.-Mexico trade balance. They will. EU wants to increase purchases of U.S. goods by 50 billion euros to address the problem in the trade relationship, EU's top negotiator told FT. Timing and location of the new round of U.S.-Iran talks have not yet been determined, but Washington expects them to take place in the near future. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot. Any military attempt to resolve the Iranian nuclear issue will be extremely costly, and we do not wish to bear it. McDonald's sales are sinking. U.S. same-store sales dropped 3.6% quarter 1 2025, worse since the Rona. Total U.S. revenue missed estimates of $5.96 billion versus $6.12 billion expected. CEO cites economic uncertainty and tariff policy fears for weak consumer spending. You better go buy a crap load of beef, Mickey D's. Prices are going up. Covered that one on the old PrepperNow tonight. Trump calls on Americans not to do business with China. Now China is sending its boats back. Boats are not being unloaded because they have a 145% tariff, which is record-setting type of tariff. They can't sell their product here, and because of that, they think of it, if you're losing all of that money, maybe you're better off not doing business with them. And, just in, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calls for immediate deal with China. We need to see a de-escalation with China on tariffs. They created the problem, and now, oh my God, we need a deal. Who knows? Approximately 90% of Iran's oil exports go to China, based on data from 2023 and 2024. Pakistan issued a NOTAM, or Notice to Airmen, for Karachi and Lahore FIR, indicating available ATS routes from FL 090 to FL 250. Today, air raid sirens were tested on multiple locations in Pakistan. Visuals from Bajar district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Pakistan bans Indian songs after India bans Pakistani celebrity accounts in India. Media wars continuing. Not very soon, you'll see both sides on the border blasting their own country's music, and it'll become music wars. You mark my words, they will do that. I bet everything, they're going to do it. Eric Prince, prominent supporter of former now U.S. President Trump, and the founder of the private military company Blackwater, has entered into an agreement with the Democratic Republic of Congo to secure and tax its vast mineral wealth. So 2 mineral deals, one in Ukraine, one in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC, dog. Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has ordered the military to strengthen its defense in the Krasnoarmeysk-Pokrovsk direction, where the Russian army is advancing its offensive. This is in response to the intensified Russian efforts in that area, with the Russian forces reportedly advancing from nearby settlements and putting pressure on Ukrainian positions. The Ukrainian side is actively using tactics, including drone strikes and artillery, to counter these advances, but reserves near Krasnoarmeysk are reportedly running low. Estonian Army received the 6 U.S.-made HIMARS, High Mobility Air Artillery Rocket Systems. Chief of the Army Staff of the Pakistan Army visited large-scale military exercises designed to simulate a response to a potential Indian invasion. These exercises took place near the line of control with India amid heightened tensions following the deadly attack in Pahalgam. Estimated number of human workers expected to be replaced by humanoid robots would be 63,000 by 2050, CNBC source. Gen Z shifted hard towards the right. Wonder why? Well, bad news, leftists. You're unpopular now. Yeah, actually, the youngins, they think you're kind of douchebags, to be honest with you. Not that I only talk to them every day. Oh, wait. I do. 84 to 88, major college campuses now saw 18 to 24-year-olds shift right from 2020 to 2024 by an average of 11 points. Approximately 30 minutes ago, Israeli jets struck a target close to Ahmed al-Sharaz al-Jalani's presidential palace in Damascus, presumably a warning message. Without the Earth's magnetic field, our way of life would have problems. Yep, that's the big one we're going to talk about tonight real quick. Without our Earth's magnetic field, our way of life could not exist. In fact, without life on our planet could not exist at all. Magnetosphere is essentially a shield that protects us from the charged particles from the sun. Did a magnetic event affect Europe's grid the other day? Well, there's a lot of skepticism about the narrative that has been given. They said it was a rare atmospheric event or something like that. This blackout was extremely unusual, and as Michael Schellenberger has pointed out, it looks like we were literally seconds away from a continent-wide blackout. Truly bananas. All of Europe appears to have been seconds away from a continent-wide blackout. Grid frequency across continental Europe plunged to 49.85 hertz, just a hair above the red line collapse threshold. Normal operating frequency for Europe's power grid is 50 hertz, kept with an extremely tight margin of 0.1 hertz, plus or minus. Anything outside plus minus 0.2 hertz triggers major emergency actions. If the frequency had fallen just another 0.3 hertz, below 49.5 hertz, Europe could have suffered a system-wide cascading blackout. Friends, you better be getting prepped for such things. Just saying. It is, it's getting weird out there, okay? And that, if that blackout the other night was not a red flag, warning sign, let's get her done, I don't know what you want to call it. If that wasn't that, I don't know what to tell you. I do not know what to tell you. So, hopefully you're prepping. Hopefully you're doing all the things. Hopefully you are preparing. There's not really much you can do in a magnetic field destruction. But maybe it won't be that bad if it happens at all. And we will have enough food to make it. That's the goal. So keep prepping the food, keep prepping the energy, keep prepping the meds, keep prepping the security, or as we call it here, FEMS. But keep prepping, okay? You got links in the description. Join us on our other platforms. Oh my gosh. Howard Clegg, thank you so much, brother. Yeah, thank you all so much. You guys, this is a catharsis for me. I really appreciate it. So share this out. Go to my homepage, play some videos, hit a like button, okay? To the D-bag that always dislikes this video, thank you very much. Do you know that you're actually helping me? So I really appreciate it. It's not like they can see it. That's right, because of your side of the political aisle, you can't even see your downvotes. So what's the point? Whatever. Keep doing it. I love it. All right, friends, on that, we're going to move on out. God bless. Stack, stock, stick to the plan. Keep it on when your powder dry, and keep on coming by. The Crisis Report by PrepperNow. I haven't said that saying in a while. See you later.